As the world braces for the final episodes of Stranger Things, one thing is abundantly clear. Volume 1 of Season 5 has delivered the show's most emotionally charged and narratively explosive cliffhangers yet, none more impactful than the one centered on Will Byers. Noah Schnapp, who has portrayed Will since he was 10 years old, is finally getting the kind of layered, emotionally complex storyline fans have long felt he deserved. And in a brand new sit-down interview, Schnapp tears open the moment that has the fandom buzzing, calling it nothing short of a whiplash of a reveal. A long-awaited spotlight on Will Byers. For years, fans debated whether Will would ever truly reclaim the narrative focus he had in the early seasons. After all, Stranger Things began with Will's disappearance and the supernatural events that spiraled from it. But as the ensemble grew and Hawkins' mysteries expanded, Will's arc often took a quieter, more internal turn. Season 5 corrects that, completely. Volume 1 places Will in the emotional and supernatural eye of the storm, literally and figuratively. Schnapp says he felt the shift immediately when reading the scripts. I remember sitting with the first batch of scripts and just thinking, oh. This is it. They're finally doing it. They're giving Will the closure and the chaos he deserves. But the cliffhanger, even reading it was a whiplash of a reveal for me. The cliffhanger that changed everything. Though Netflix has stayed tight-lipped on specifics, fans who've watched Volume 1 know exactly what Schnapp is referencing, the final sequence that redefines Will's connection to the Upside Down in a way that no previous season has dared to touch. The cliffhanger doesn't just tease danger, it reframes Will's entire past. For the first time, audiences learn that Will's connection to Vecna and the Upside Down wasn't simply the aftermath of Season 1's abduction. Instead, the reveal suggests Will may be far more central to the supernatural mythology than anyone, including Will himself, ever realized. According to Schnapp, that revelation was the moment that blew the doors open. There's a shot, people who watched will know, which shows Will understanding something horrifying about himself in real time. When I first read that stage direction, I got chills. It wasn't just another scary moment. It was a pivot point for the whole show. Noah Schnapp on Will's emotional state. For Schnapp, one of the greatest challenges of Season 5 was portraying Will's emotional evolution through fear, self-doubt, growing maturity, and painful self-discovery. He explains that playing Will has always been a delicate balancing act. Will is soft-spoken but deeply intuitive, terrified but resilient, traumatized but empathetic. Season 5 amplifies those contradictions. This season puts Will in a position where he has to confront everything he's been running from, his trauma, his identity, his connection to the shadow world. And the cliffhanger is basically the moment all those threads finally collide. It's Will looking at himself and realizing the truth is much darker than he ever imagined. A performance fans are calling Schnapp's best yet. Critics and fans alike have unanimously praised Schnapp's performance this season. Many argue that Volume 1 contains his most gripping acting to date, raw, intense, and emotionally expansive. Several scenes have gone viral. Will breaking down to Jonathan in the van, finally explaining the weight he's carried for years. Will sensing the Upside Down in ways that confirm the threat is not only returning, but evolving. And of course, the cliffhanger, the moment he touches his neck, freezes, and knows something world-shattering has changed. Schnapp says these scenes were both terrifying and liberating to film. There are things Will experiences that are such a metaphor for growing up, feeling different, feeling out of control, feeling connected to something you don't fully understand. Playing those beats, especially with the supernatural layer added, was the most rewarding challenge I've had on the show. The Duffer Brothers promised Will would shine, and they delivered. Since early pre-production, the Duffer Brothers hinted that Season 5 would bring Will back into the narrative spotlight. True to their word, they have woven Will into the mythology in a way that feels destined rather than convenient. According to Schnapp, the creators approached him early in the process to explain how essential Will would be to the endgame. They told me, this season is yours. We started with Will, and we're ending with Will. Hearing that made everything hit differently. I felt this incredible responsibility to do right by the character and by the fans who've defended him for years. How Will's arc sits at the emotional core of the series. With Volume 1 now streaming, conversations online are buzzing with one central theme: Stranger Things is coming full circle. Will's trauma is no longer a backstory, it's the story. His bond with Mike is revisited with nuance and complexity. His friendship with Eleven takes on a new emotional dimension. His brother Jonathan returns to the protective, loving, deeply attuned sibling fans adored in Seasons 1 and 2. Every character is orbiting differently now, and Will is the gravitational center. Schnapp agrees. What I love about this season is that Will isn't just reacting anymore. He's choosing. He's stepping into his own power, even if it scares him. And that journey is what makes the cliffhanger so painful and exciting. A reveal that sets up an explosive Volume 2. Though Schnapp cannot reveal specifics about Volume 2, he describes the upcoming episodes as bigger, darker, and more emotional than anything we've seen. He says the cliffhanger is only the beginning of a much larger truth about Will's purpose in the story. If people think the cliffhanger is shocking, they're not ready. Everything Will learns about himself in that moment becomes the fuel for Volume 2. And trust me, it gets wild. The actor hints that Will's storyline will challenge not only the character but the audience's understanding of the Upside Down. A lot of questions from Season 1 are finally answered. And almost all of them trace back to Will. The cast's reaction to Will's cliffhanger. Schnapp shares that when the cast first read the scripts as a group, there was an audible reaction in the room during Will's final scene. Everyone literally gasped. Millie screamed. Finn just kept saying, "No way. No way." David Harbour was like, "Well, that changes everything." And it does. Even veteran cast members were stunned by how deeply intertwined Will's fate is with the world-ending stakes of Season 5. Noah Schnapp reflects on growing up with Will. As Stranger Things nears its conclusion, Schnapp has become surprisingly sentimental. He admits that filming Will's final arc has been emotionally heavy, not only because of the character's storyline but because it marks the end of a decade-long chapter of his life. Will was with me through middle school, through high school, through everything. I grew up as he grew up. Saying goodbye to him, especially with this storyline, is something I'm still processing. He says Season 5 is the culmination of everything Will has endured. His disappearance, his possession, his isolation, his identity struggles, his emotional repression, his unspoken connection to the monster haunting Hawkins. And Schnapp believes fans will finally see Will's internal world set free. Fans react. This is the Will Byers we've been waiting for. Social media has exploded with praise for Will's storyline. Fans have spent years campaigning for him to be taken seriously, and Season 5 appears to be the answer to those prayers. Top reactions include, "Noah Schnapp is acting for his life. Emmy-worthy. The cliffhanger made my jaw hit the floor. Will Byers has always been the heart of this show. This proves it. Noah is out-acting everyone and I'm obsessed." The fandom sentiment is unanimous. Will's arc is the emotional spine of the final season. Where does Will go from here? While we won't have answers until Volume 2 drops, Schnapp assures fans that Will's final chapter will be unforgettable. "I think people will cry. I think people will scream. But most of all, I think they'll understand Will in a way they never did before." He promises that the cliffhanger is not just a shock tactic, it's the lock clicking into place, the truth finally coming into focus, and the beginning of the end. Everything about Will that felt confusing or unresolved finally makes sense by the finale.